At some point or another, we've all wanted to be like Mike.
Michael Jordan celebrating.
But for one day, all Mike wanted to do was be like him.
You know, I think Tyler did a good job.
With Jordan watching in amazement, Tyler Reddick made his boss proud by avoiding the big one to win the big one.
Oh my God! Great work, guys!
Now he'll try to do it again as the scene shifts to Dover. Is this the start of an MJ-like three-peat? We'll discuss on this edition of Around the Track.
They call it the Monster Mile, but we call this Around the Track. Thanks for joining us. I'm Carla Gebhardt, next to Gabe McDonald.
And today we're heading trackside to Dover Motor Speedway, plus motorsports reporter Alan Cavana is in the building. And a man that's been on fire this season, William Byron, but can he handle our ATT heat? The driver of the 24 car stops by to chat, but first we have to slay the monster up in Dover.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do it because, it is called the Monster Mile for a reason. And those that survive, well, they get a replica of Miles, the statue. But this isn't a short track. It's not really even an intermediate track either. It's in a category all on its own. And the Cup Series drivers only get to visit it once on the schedule. There's no resting in the straightaways, no laying off in the turns. It's a 400-mile race, and you're driving it the whole time. NASCAR on Fox's Larry McReynolds says it's a Bristol on steroids.
24 degrees of banking in the corners, but the straightaways are banked 9 degrees. That's more banking than we have at some of our racetracks that we go to in the corners. And it never fails. You go through the corner so fast and you're carrying so much speed on the late exit of the corner, a car will lunge against the wall on the exit of turn 4, turn 2. And because of that banking, it almost ricochets off the wall and goes down the racetrack. And next thing you know, a one-car accident turns into a multi-car accident. It's almost like we have another big one, just not at Talladega, at a 1-mile track like Dover.
Let's go ahead and dive into the Dover numbers. It's a 1-mile concrete oval, and we're going 400 miles. Stages 1 and 2 are 120 laps each. The final stage, 160 laps. We're banking 24 degrees on those turns and 9 degrees on straightaways. Chase Elliott, speaking of the number 9, he currently holds the fastest ever Cup Series lap at 22.2 seconds. And he's also the youngest winner at Dover. But Jimmie Johnson, the Hall of Famer, he owns this track with 11 wins here all time. Now, let's go ahead and head trackside.
All right, it is time now to head trackside to Dover Motor Speedway, and we are now joining Derek Forrest, who is right in front of Miles the Monster. Of course, that's what they're known for at the Monster Mile. Derek, can you just kind of set the scene for us this weekend at the track and what it's looking like for Sunday's race?
Yeah, it should be a pretty exciting race weekend here in Dover. As you mentioned, Miles the Monster over my right shoulder there. But yeah, there's a couple of legends that we expect to see here this weekend. Jimmie Johnson will be back behind the wheel for the 3rd time this season. So he's going to be out there on the track. Obviously, he's looking for the 12th win here at Dover Motor Speedway. He has the most here at Dover with 11. And they're also going to pay tribute to Richard Petty, the King. He's got 7 race wins here, tied with Bobby Allison for 2nd all-time here at Dover. And they're actually going to meet with the fans over there in front of Miles the Monster over the weekend. As for the weather, way better than it was last year. It rained pretty much all weekend last year. We've got no rain in the forecast right now. It's a little chilly, but on race day on Sunday, it's supposed to be about 80 degrees.
Love to hear that, of course. A lot to look forward to this weekend. Derek, we appreciate your time so much. Thanks.
Let's go ahead and bring in the NASCAR savant. You see him, you hear him on SiriusXM, PRN, or MRN. He's truly everywhere in the sport, folks. Alan Cavana, honestly, I'm surprised we could even get you back here in studio, my man.
I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, a lot of storylines to cover here, but first things first, why is this mile so monster? Like, why is it difficult for drivers to drive on this track?
Because it'll bite you. I mean, my man Larry Mack said it. It's like Bristol on steroids. First of all, just look at it. It looks different because it's concrete. It's a white, flat track, and then it gets darker and darker as the race goes on. And then you see how narrow it is. Once you get there on the track, that's dangerous for the drivers. You have a full field of 36-plus drivers there. Something can happen so quickly there. You spin one car out. You can have a big one there very quickly because it is so narrow. And then you have the banking. Not only is it highly banked in the corner, but the straightaway. Unlike most flat tracks, unlike most of these intermediate tracks, the straightaway is pretty banked as well. So it's so tight, it's so narrow. Things can go so bad quickly there for these drivers, that's what makes it so unique, is that they don't go any place like this. When they say Bristol on steroids, it's double the size of Bristol, so it's faster speeds and more time that you have to worry about all that stuff going wrong.
Now, this doesn't apply to any of us, but if your last name is Truex, then Dover certainly belonged to you last season. Martin Truex Jr. won the Cup race. His brother Ryan won the Xfinity race. Of course, JGR would love to get Martin in victory lane. And is this the track where this certainly could happen, Alan?
Oh, absolutely. The Toyotas are running well, and we've seen both Ryan Truex. That was his first win, so that was really cool for him to see. He's coming back as a defending winner in the Xfinity Series. Brother Martin, they say it's his home track. He's got a few of those, but his first win ever at Dover. His last win last year, he was able to win and get the win at Dover. But let's not forget, he didn't lead the most laps. He didn't dominate by any stretch of the imagination, but the team won, right? In terms of his crew chief coming in, less than 10 laps to go, they said, give him 2 tires, put Martin out front, let him be on offense at a track he's really good at. What did he do? He go out and he got the win. He could absolutely do it again the way that they're running at JGR. We've seen Martin come close at Richmond just a few weeks ago. So painstakingly close. All the JGR Toyotas have speed. Martin Truex Jr., one of his best tracks. He can do it again.
Yeah, Truex currently second in points, even without a win. But another guy that has a lot of points, that's Kyle Larson, who's leading the field right now. He's also led 531 laps so far this season, but only has 1 win to show for it. So why hasn't Larson been back to victory lane since Vegas?
Great question. I'm sure a lot of people at Hendrick want to know that as well. He's the betting favorite this weekend. So good at Dover right now, leading all those laps, but it just seems like feast or famine for Kyle Larson right now. If he's not getting the win, it feels like it might maybe a crash or he's finishing back. I think 21st last week in Talladega. Didn't have a great race in Texas the week before, getting the spin out there while leading, right? So things seem to be going wrong, or they're winning, right? One or the other. So it's hard to predict which one will happen for Kyle Larson this weekend. Certainly one of the favorites, certainly will have one of the fastest cars, but can you bet on him to win? That's tough to say, just given what we've seen so far this year.
Now, one thing that fans are really excited about is, and some industry members as well, the scoring pylons. I've really never heard a lot of chatter, as much chatter about it coming into this week. How is that going to impact the race?
Yeah, I don't know how much it impacts the race. It's just a weird coincidence. 2 weeks in a row, we've gone to tracks where they have replaced the scoring pylon and not replaced them, they've just taken them down with kind of an unknown future. So it's, look, if you've been to a racetrack, you know it's the first thing you do. It's like looking at a scoreboard at an NBA game or an NFL game. Like, where's my driver running? I look up on the big scoreboard. As a pro down there, as a pit reporter, that's what I'm doing to see where the drivers are running, what lap they're on, who's a lap down, all this stuff. And to have that missing from 2 tracks in a row, it's just an odd storyline that it happened 2 weeks in a row. So Dover made sure to tell everybody.
On Twitter, right?
On Twitter. We still have it. We still have the scoring pylon. It's the first thing I would look at. And I think the drivers too appreciate it. They can see that during the race, and when they get a race win, they take a picture of it. I promise you they do. They love that picture of their number on top of the scoring board as you're walking out. They love the scoring pylon. Yeah,
and like we said, it's just tradition. Of course, Alan is going to stick around to talk about last week's winner, but right now we're talking about the driver with the most wins so far this season.
When we are off the track, maybe we have a lot of different interests or personality, but when we're in the working environment, I feel like we're really similar and we can bring the best out of each other.
So just how crucial has Rudy Fugle been as Byron's crew chief this season? Driver of the 24 talks about their bond in this week's Garage Confidential.
And it's hard to mistake Michael Jordan when you see him on the racetrack. While he loves being at the track, he loves being in victory lane even more. Hear from the GOAT coming up. And this week's Wreck of the Race could have you wincing a little bit, guys. That's
right. We're going to show you the aftermath at Talladega. That's all coming up on Around the Track. We'll be right back.
Back here on Around the Track, the 45 team celebrated hard after their win in Talladega this weekend. A last-second wreck sent Tyler Reddick soaring past the leaders to take the checkered flag at Dega. Yes, Reddick was excited, but I'm not sure anyone was more excited than 2311 team owner and NBA legend Michael Jordan.
I'm all in. I love it. You know, it replaces a lot of the competitiveness that I had in basketball, but this is even worse, you know, because I have no control. If I was playing basketball, I have total control, but I have no control, so I live vicariously through the drivers and all the crew chiefs and everybody. So, I mean, I'm very happy for 2311, 110%.
A very excited Michael Jordan this past Sunday at Talladega after a huge day for 2311 racing. Tyler Reddick's win in the Geico 500 marked the first win for the team this season, and what truly made it special was MJ being able to witness a win in person for the first time as a team owner. So it's been just 4 years for 2311, but Michael Jordan, obviously one of the biggest figures in just the entire world. Just what does it mean to have him part of the sport and making such a big impact early on?
It's amazing. It means everything. I mean, like, you have his shoes, I'm wearing his shoes. Everybody knows who Michael Jordan is. If you didn't know who Michael Jordan was, or if you didn't know he was a NASCAR owner, you do now, because that clip was everywhere. But what I truly love is that every race fan saw that Michael Jordan is also a race fan. The way he celebrated, that was a win at Talladega. NASCAR fans know how special that is. What we saw out of Michael Jordan is he knows how special that is. So if they didn't know, now they know.
And when you look at 2311, just 4 years as a Cup team, but already 6 wins. Obviously, Kurt Busch, Bubba Wallace, and Tyler Reddick now with 3. This is pretty unprecedented for a team to have this much success early on.
Unreal, because they started with nothing, right? Some teams come in and they already have the building, already have the cars. 2311 started with nothing, and they had a 5-year plan. Denny Hamlin said, in 5 years, we want to be a championship contender. Well, guess what? In year 3, they were already there. We're only in year 4 now, and they're absolutely already a championship contender. If they don't win races, if they're not championship contenders, that's a disappointment, and that's a standard that they set for themselves already. That's how good they are. In just a few years, they're way ahead of their 5-year plan.
We'll see if they can continue to grow. Well, one team is the gold standard in NASCAR, and Carla has more with one of their drivers.
Yeah, Gabe, unsurprisingly, another team that has had a lot of success this season. That's Hendrick Motorsports. 5 wins this season, with 3 of them coming from driver of the 24, William Byron. That many trips to victory lane. It gets you trophies, but it also gets you a sit down in this week's Garage Confidential.
How NASCAR has dubbed you Big Moment Byron.
Oh, okay.
Have you seen this?
I haven't, no.
Oh, does that
Really?
feel the way that the season is going right now?
I mean, it's been really good. We've been able to win some huge races, and you just always hope to be in those positions to be able to win the big ones that really you feel like have meaning long term. So I just feel like it's been some good circumstances, and just having good teamwork and showing up for those races and trying to bring our best. So hopefully that continues. You know, the goal is to try to get to Phoenix with a shot at the championship, and hopefully do a couple spots better than last year.
You're always pretty vocal in admitting that it's also your crew chief, right? Rudy Fugle, and just the bond that y'all have kind of shared, especially this season, even last season as well. What is that bond like? Like, how would you describe that to someone, and why do you work so well together?
Yeah, I think we're just we're similar in some ways when it comes to competition. Like, I feel like when we are off the track, maybe we have a lot of different interests or personality, but when we're in the working environment, I feel like we're really similar, and we can bring the best out of each other. So we're just honest with each other, and we're always trying to improve, and there's always some discomfort working through problems, but we seem to be able to problem solve together and get to the solution. So that's what you really want with anyone kind of in that relationship.
You've mentioned that before, that discomfort maybe when it comes to practice. What does that look like on a race weekend for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, we're always trying to work through the problems that we have with the car, but I feel like we do a lot of that during the week, so we have some practice with it in the simulator. So we actually just came from the simulator today and just worked through some of the challenges that we have for some upcoming tracks, and just feel like it's always an never-ending process to try to get the car better and get it in a place that you can race it. So we try to work well through that.
But you've mentioned before how analytical you are. Do you think, I mean, are other race car drivers as analytical as you are, do you think?
Probably not. I mean, I don't think so, but I feel like the sport's really been going that way. So I feel like it's probably more common practice than it used to be. You know, it used to be a lot about feel. Yeah, you know, they didn't want to look at data because it would confuse everyone. And now it's becoming more maybe 50-50 shared responsibility. We don't always rely on the data because a lot of times it doesn't, you know, translate. But the times that we kind of look at it as a tool, it seems like it works best that way.
What makes Dover different than other tracks that you've got on the circuit?
It's just really, it's very high load, so it's very intense in the car. Lots of load in the corner, so it's tough on your body, but also the car and the parts and pieces on it. So I just feel like it brings out a very intense race because of how you have to drive that track.
Appreciate Hendrick and William Byron for the time. Well, there's been a talk of tires this NASCAR season, from Bristol fall off to lack thereof at other short tracks. NASCAR's heard the request, and now they're using the All-Star race to try some things out. Those details are just ahead.
And strategy played a factor in the race at Talladega last weekend. It also played a part in our wreck of the race, but did it ruin the day or possibly save it for the manufacturer? We'll discuss when Around the Track continues. May is almost here, which means we're visiting more historical tracks on the NASCAR circuit, including the All-Star race that is back for the second consecutive year at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Although the venue has not changed since last season, there are some key details that you need to know before you watch. The simplified format will stay the same with the two 100-lap heat races that help set the starting lineup for the 200-lap main event. But NASCAR is giving drivers some options in this race as far as tires are concerned. Potentially, 3 different types of tires will be utilized throughout the weekend. Teams will be given 3 sets of prime and 2 sets of option tires to get through practice, qualifying, and the heat races. Those option tires will be kind of like slick tires with a softer compound and wet weather tires in case it rains. In addition, they'll be given 2 sets of prime and 2 sets of option tires for the All-Star race. Prime tires, they're going to be used all throughout for qualifying, and all teams will start on the option tire for the main event. And we've got an injury update on NASCAR Cup Series driver Eric Jones. Legacy Motor Club and driver of the 43 announced this week that Jones suffered a spinal fracture at Talladega and will miss the race at Dover. There is no return date yet, but NASCAR has granted him a medical waiver to remain eligible for the playoffs. Corey Heim will now step in and pilot the 43 this weekend at the Monster Mile. This is his in-car cam footage. Pretty rough, but Gabe, you've got more on how this wreck looked from the outside.
Yeah, that's right. A big wreck like that takes the cake for this week's wreck of the race. Now, Jones wasn't the only one taken out with 33 laps to go in the race at Talladega Superspeedway. Several Toyotas were impacted. Denny Hamlin, Bubba Wallace, and John Hunter Nemechek all saw their days come to an end, which was interesting because before that, the Toyota strategy was playing out pretty well at Dega. But Alan, what did you see in this wreck, and who was truly at fault last week at Talladega?
Oh, that's so tough to put it on one driver, but we saw where it started. It started with the John Hunter Nemechek at the back of the field, and just one car, it's like the domino effect. And that's what's tough. It's the risk-reward factor of Talladega in terms of you want this line right here, right? You want all your teammates, your Toyota teammates in line. This is a successful story right here, unless one boom, 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 and then it starts just a domino effect. That's what really happened here, unfortunately, for the Toyotas.
But it kind of helped Tyler Reddick in the same way.
It did. That was a strategy play to get all the Toyotas together. What they really needed to make that strategy work perfectly was a caution. And unfortunately, they were the caution, so they kind of got what they needed because Tyler Reddick was put up front with the track position game. They worked the strategy. They got what they needed. A Toyota ultimately won, but you did want to crash out the other 4 as well.
Absolutely. Toyota, like we said, stole one on a super speedway, but what's it going to take to happen at the Monster Mile? Vegas thinks that they know, and we think that we know. So we're going to give you our guesses for you to make your own when Around the Track continues. The NASCAR Hall of Fame has released the nominees for the class of 2025, and several new candidates added this year. Greg Biffle, Randy Dorton, and Jack Sprague are the new additions to the modern era ballot. Ray Hendrick, Larry Phillips, and Bob Welborn, those are the new ones for the Pioneer ballot, and Dean Sicking is the latest for the Landmark ballot.
And you got to win races to get into the Hall of Fame. And here's who Vegas thinks has the best chance to win at Dover on Sunday with these odds courtesy of DraftKings. Kyle Larson tops the list at plus 450. Then you have last year's winner, Martin Truex Jr., who is next at plus 650. Rounding out the top 5, a trio at plus 750. Denny Hamlin, Ross Chastain, and William Byron, of course. Byron being the most successful of the bunch of the season, racking up 3 wins already in just 10 races.
All right, almost time to wrap things up here on ATT, but you know we can't send you off without telling you who we think lands in victory lane on race day. Alan, who do you have?
Well, Gabe just gave everything that I would say. Willie B, William Byron, Charlotte's own. I mean, look, plus 750. He won there last year, didn't win there last year. Yeah. He led the most laps there last year. He's won the most races so far this year. That's why I'm going with that number 24 car, William Byron. Why not?
Hey. He might get another win. I mean, 4 wins already in 11 races. That would be something special. But I'm going to go with history repeating itself. Martin Truex, he's going to break through and get his first win of the season at Dover. Of course, he won this race just last year and has 4 career wins at Dover all time. That's the most of active full-time drivers. Of course, we all know JJ has 11. But he's been outside the top 10 the last 3 weeks after 5 straight top 10 finishes with a pair of top 5s. So I like MTJ to get it done and clinch that playoff spot with a win at the Monster Mile this weekend.
You know he and his team are ready for.
Oh, they're starving for
it.
So close at Richmond.
So much this year. All right, well, the last time that this driver won at Dover, it was before the Next Gen era, but I really like the storyline here. I feel like I'm going out on a limb, but I think Alex Bowman gets it done on Sunday. This team has been hanging around the top pretty well the last couple of races. I think they kind of made a statement, and they want to make a statement, right, by being the last driver for Hendrick Motorsports to get in. This is also, we love the numbers game in NASCAR. This is his 300th start, so maybe it's even more special for the 48 team. What do you think about that, Alan?
Well, tell Dale Jr. 300 start. That's a big deal, right? Let's tell everybody. No, but look, it's a Hendrick car. Would anybody be surprised if a Hendrick car won at Dover? Absolutely not. It could absolutely be Alex Bowman, but it'll be William Byron.
That's right. Well, that's going to do it for us on Around the Track this week. Enjoy the Monster Mile.